Hello, hello. Welcome back. It's been a long day. It's been a long day because I just got back actually from the Upper West Side. I was checking out this movie screening at Columbia University by Melvin Van Peebles, and I decided to just say, fuck this. I couldn't stay for it. It couldn't hold my interest. It was some movie that was filmed way back when. Interracial movie, and yeah, I didn't like the seating. The seats were very uncomfortable, and the movie itself, to me, it couldn't hold my interest, so I ended up leaving. Um, Probably not even a fourth of the way into the movie. It was like 30 minutes into that. Well, yeah, 30 minutes into the movie. I actually stayed for one third of the way of the movie. There was a lot of people there though, but yeah, the seating was just, it was mostly white people, and it stank up in that motherfucker, y'all. I was like, I can't take it. I can't. So I left, and I came home, and I've been thinking about this for a while, and I know I'm not the only one who has been wondering, like, what is up with the Hidden History Museum? I mean, is it me or what? Because I know that Tariq Nasheed had this grand idea to open his museum, like, in a matter of time after he reached his fundraising goal last year. I think he created the fundraiser back in July of August 2021, and within 30 days he raised over $1 million. Like, he surpassed his fundraising goal, yet, like, where's the museum? Like, now we're in March 2022, so it's just like, I remember him saying, as he did create a video, and I think he made several posts indicating, like, what was the holdup for why he couldn't open it, because, or why he couldn't purchase the property. So the amount that he was raising was basically designated for the purpose of purchasing the property out in Los Angeles, in South Central LA. I remember it was just like right down the street from where I used to live. I lived in LA for 4 years as I was working on my doctoral degree and my PhD in clinical psychology. My first 2 years I actually lived in Hollywood, California, and then I ended up moving to South Central LA my final 2 years there. So I remember that area, that neighborhood, quite vividly, especially right down the street from the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Mall. And I was so excited to hear that Tariq Nasheed had this, like, fabulous idea, like, so inspiring, to open a museum surrounding the hidden history, like our history. I'm a big fan of Tariq Nasheed, mainly because of his documentaries, the Hidden Color series. And I remember, like, I tell this story often, how I stumbled across Tariq Nasheed, well, Dr. Umar Johnson, through Tariq Nasheed. My very first date with my ex, we actually watched the Hidden Color series at his place. And so I had never heard of Tariq Nasheed before, or Dr. Umar Johnson, you know. Like, I think sometimes we look at these great figures within the black communities, influencers, and we think, like, they are known by everyone, but no. I mean, I'm from Florida, born and raised in Jacksonville, Florida, and I've lived in Atlanta, Georgia, lived in LA, and yeah, it wasn't until, like, I moved to New York back in 2014, this is before I actually started my doctoral studies out in Los Angeles, that's when I found out about Dr. Umar Johnson, right, by watching the Hidden Color series, and I was fascinated, and I was just so motivated and inspired to learn about, like the documentary says, you know, the hidden history, like our hidden history, and there's so much to uncover. And I really like that he's so passionate, like he's just so driven to share this information with the black community, because it's like, it's so much, I feel like it's a mystery, right? It's like the more you search, the more you find, and I feel like he's just only scratched the surface when it comes to uncovering the history of African people here in America. I have a lot to say. I don't want this video to be that long. It can't be that long because I'm going to make a 50% battery. And plus, like, I'm just getting back home, so I'm kind of unwinding. Sipping some wine. But I'm excited. I'm thrilled, and I am anxious, like, to really see what more else is there to discover about our history, because like I said, I know that isn't it. Like, he's done, I think, what, 5-part? Yeah, Hidden Colors 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I think I attended the premiere of Hidden Colors. I get them mixed up, yo. So many of them. I think it was 4. Or was it 5? I know it was out in LA. And I actually did a review on the documentary, and each of his documentaries has so much information, but it still doesn't cover everything, right? And so, given that my mom, her father is Native American, I find it interesting because, of course, Dr. Umar Johnson has his own narrative surrounding Native American people, and how specifically there's like a movement, there's a wave of black people wanting to claim Native American, right? And, you know, at the expense of like disassociating from Africa or disowning their African identity. And I'm like, no, I take pride in my African identity, but I think it's something to be said about people who do have ancestry connected to Native America, like the Native Americans. Given black people, African people, melanated people, we circumnavigated the globe, right? So it is something to be said about us having a presence here, us having an establishment here in the Americas, in America, North America, before slavery, right? Before white people even settled upon this land. And what did that life look like for those group of people? Who were they? Right? Who really laid the foundation, and to just try to push that under the rug and act as if though it didn't happen or it doesn't exist, I feel like doesn't pay the homage, the proper respect to those people, right? And to ourselves. So yeah, I got offended by Dr. Umar Johnson. I remember on one of his videos, this was maybe like a couple of months ago, where he was talking about this whole movement, right? And this concept of black people who are saying that they have ancestry connected to the Native Americans. And like, he has this whole terminology surrounding it. I forget what he calls it, but yeah, it's just like a mockery against like Native Americans, and I don't like that. I think that history is important in of itself, right? No matter what that connection is, right? Some people have, you know, our ancestry can be traced to Europe, right? To England, you know, to Native America. And it's just like to disown that and say, okay, forget about that. That doesn't matter. It's just like, no, we're missing a big piece. And so I'm glad that Tariq Nasheed is like making a conscious effort. He's so driven to really uncover that, to delve deep, to even have an inclination to be pulled in that direction, right? It's just like it was his calling. It's something missing, right? He's filling that void. He's meeting that need. And yeah, I'm a bit kind of disheartened to see like, okay, there hasn't been much progress, but who knows? Who knows what's happening behind the scenes? Because I think that like history is the best teacher, right? And so what we have seen historically is that too much of this stalls the progress for the black community when it comes to certain missions. Even with Dr. Umar Johnson's FDMG Academy, his African-centered all-boys school, like that is something to be said about that, because that mission, that goal is over a 10-year vision, right, that he has been working on, right, and he's invested so much energy. Like, just sit and pause and think, like, how much energy, how much time, how much effort, how much work, like how much lectures, how much, like, everything he spent working towards that. But yet it seems on the surface that not much progress has been made, right, or is being made. It's like the more he takes step forward, like he's being pulled backwards. But can't give up hope. And something within me which sparked me to create this video is like telling me, like, no, hope is not lost. It's going to happen. Because the thing about when something is ordained, right, by the universe, when something is meant to happen, when something is meant to be, nothing can get in the way of that. And I think the obstacles, the naysayers, the detractors, like everyone who has come up against this mission for FDMG Academy, and now Tariq Nasheed is learning that it was not so easy, right? It's not so easy embarking upon something that is going to be revolutionary for African people, for black melanated people, for the world, right? Because anything that impacts the black community is going to put a dent in, like, in the whole entire world and society at large. But he's learning that, following in Dr. Umar Johnson's footsteps, right? Because like before, okay, before he embarked upon this mission to raise funds and to build a museum, an African museum, he had made documentaries, but that's not, like, that's kind of walking on the safe side, right? Because anybody, I won't say anyone, right? Because I have to respect the art of it. You know, it takes a lot of work to create any kind of project, written or visual, that is very impactful and transformative. But at the same time, when we're talking about the scale of a project, right, creating documentaries, by comparison to building a museum, night and day, two different things, right? So I think that, yeah, I think that he underestimated, like, the scope of this, and he underestimated, like, the amount of work and the amount of threat the amount of threat that he is potentially causing to the power structure, to the system at large. And I remember he made a few jokes about this, like, as he was raising funds and he felt he was getting closer. I think even after he had reached his goal, the mark, and he was like, all right, getting ready to make moves, I remember, yeah, because he was meeting with the contractors, and I think he was meeting, like, with the owners, right? And he was like, oh, I gotta put on my, like, I gotta put on my act, I gotta dress like an act like a coon. Yeah, he made, like, a whole, like, post about this, right? And I just think that's interesting. Like, he's a comedian. I find him very entertaining, right? Tariq Nasheed. But at the same time, obviously, there's truth and humor. And for him to even state that he has to put, like, on a representative, he has to put on a front, right? He has to, like, appease to these people so that they don't perceive him as such of a threat. What he's doing, right? His mission. But that apparently didn't work, because guess what happened? He raised the money. He had already been in communication, right, with these people who own this property, this commercial space out in South Central Los Angeles, California, and it fell through, right? It didn't, like, you know, and I think that it was a nice space, but yeah, it's like when you put this vision out there, especially if it's a great vision, like, people obviously will try to sabotage it. And he says that someone else, white people, basically, the same thing, right? It's like history repeats itself. That's why I think when Dr. Umar Johnson was going through what he was going through, like, It's sad. People are so ignorant, blindsided to not even see that it's not about Dr. Umar Johnson per se. But the focus was on him and his character flaws and what he's doing wrong, right? Pointing the blame to him. Fundamental attribution error, right? In psychology. Assuming that it wasn't external factors that played into what happened with Dr. Umar Johnson, right? And this whole delay of being able to find a school, purchase a school, successfully do the work that it takes to get it open and operational. People are just pointing fingers at Dr. Umar Johnson. Oh, something wrong with him. And then came around the time for Tariq Nasheed to test his hand at building an institution, right? Because you can consider a museum an institution. Like, museums play a major role, a huge staple in the black community. When you look at any black museum, right, especially here in New York, like, they have programming and they have grants and they have, like, it's an institution, right? Things that help bring people to get together, the black community together, to help educate, right? To help motivate progress for us. And what he was doing, like, looking at you, when you look at his documentaries, those things are transformative. They're I wouldn't say anti-establishment, but they ruffle feathers when it comes to the white power structure, the dominant structure. And so for him to create, like, he had this vision to create and build an institution that basically is a reflection of what's shown in his documentaries, taking it a step further. Like, you know they weren't having that shit, right? And you know they're going to give him a difficult time. Think about that. Think about that shit, yo. I just find it ironic because he was one of Dr. Umar Johnson's biggest critics. As Dr. Umar Johnson was going through, the struggle phase, the hustle and bustle of trying to get his school off the ground, to even purchase a building, right, to materialize his vision. Like, Tariq Nasheed took to social media and just throwing shade and hating on the man, right? Creating suspicion in the minds of the black community, especially for people who were avid supporters of Dr. Umar Johnson, right? Causing a deterrence in their support of Dr. Umar Johnson's vision, ultimately. Words coming out of Tariq Nasheed's mouth is, he played a role in that, right? Dissuading people against Dr. Umar Johnson to turn them away from him, right? To create confusion, to make them question, to create disbelief in the minds of the people, right? Confusion, disbelief. They were believers. They believed in the mission. They supported him. And then, when you have people, influencers, right? We're talking about people who have influence over other people on social media. You have followers, right? People are watching you. They're holding on to every word that you say. Tariq Nasheed played a role in that. And then, look, lo and behold, he's wanting to build an institution. And the same thing has happened to him. I just find it very ironic. Now, granted, we're in March 2022, and he began raising funds back in, I think, July was when he started the campaign. But he's following in his footsteps. So it just goes to show the lesson in this is like, hold your horses. Do not be so quick to speak negatively about a fellow black sister, black brother, that we're quick to jump and be like, oh, they're scamming, right? I mean, not to say that it is impossible for a black person of influence, of power, to take advantage of members in the black community, right? And to also fall victim to uh, their own power, right? Their own narcissism. It's possible anybody can fall in that trap, right? You mass all of this following, and then the attention that you get, you abuse the power, right? And start basically promoting this idea of change, right? And whatever you're trying to sell to the black people, but then really that's not what you end up doing, right? You end up doing something totally different, and it's really boiled down to your intention. What is your intention? The intention is that they never had that in mind. But I don't believe that is true for Dr. Umar Johnson. I believe he always and still has good intentions for the black community. Now, mistakes, shit happens, right? And yes, people get sucked up into their own mess, right? Like your own character flaws can be a curse for you, right? And can play a role. But I think that people just were negligent to the fact that it's like we know that we live in the system, right? We live in this macrocosm of racism, racial oppression. But it's almost like it goes, we turn a blind eye to it. We forget that we live in this context when black people are setting out on a mission to do things for the black community, and it's not materializing, it's not going in the direction that, people, the leader themselves, and then the people, wish for it to go. People start to look at the leader and question, like, okay, well, something is wrong with that person, right? What's wrong with him? He's saying that he's going to open this school. He's saying that he's going to buy this property, this space for the museum, and build a museum with the people's money, but it didn't happen. But if you look at what happened, right, in the context of this world that we live in, it makes sense. That's how I like to interpret things. I mean, it's unfortunate because it's like, I believe that they will open, and I believe that what's destined to be will be, and it's just going to make it that much greater when it opens, right, for both. And wouldn't it be great if both open at the same damn time? Like, I can see that shit, yo. I can see it. I think that everything that has happened was supposed to happen. It happened for a reason. Everything that has happened is supposed to happen. So, even though it seems like, okay, the mission is delayed, it's not denied, right? It's going to happen for both. And so much more is going to happen. I just think that Dr. Umar Johnson's mission, because I mean, we're talking about both, right? Like institutions kind of simultaneously, right, in the same video. But I have to be honest. I have to be honest, right? Not to underestimate the impact that African-centered museum will have on the black community, locally, nationally, and internationally. But I've listened to Dr. Umar Johnson lay out his plan. It's so intricate. Yo, it's so multi-layered. It's like the solution that we need. Like his plan to build this school is bigger, it's deeper than education. Education is important. But, and when you think about the transformation, revolution, it starts in the mind, right? Education deals with the mind, and him being a psychologist, y'all see how they do me, yo? I don't know why, but it happens, and I just feel like they fucking with your girl because my videos be chopped up. I noticed that. It's like I can't not go without, I cannot make a video without it not chopping up. But anyway, so his mission is so powerful, yo. The things that he's laid out, it's like I said, it's like the solution to, it solves like a lot of problems. And he's so futuristic, thinking so far into the future, because we know that the younger generation is the future. And so to invest that energy, right, to put your vision into something that hasn't yet been created. Because many people fault Dr. Umar Johnson, saying, oh, he didn't open the school yet. Like, he was talking about opening the school 10 years ago when I had a 4-year-old and I was going to send him to the school, and now my 4-year-old almost graduating high school. But maybe the school wasn't meant to be open during that era. Think about this, right? Everything happens when it's supposed to happen. And there is a time and a place for that school to open. I believe it's going to happen. And the thing is, he already laid the vision out. It's already been documented. It's already been recorded. So it may not open. Who knows? It may not happen in his lifetime. What's his name? I want to say Dr. Umar Johnson, but like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, that he has a dream. It may not manifest itself. It may not materialize in this lifetime, in his own lifetime. But it's going to happen, yo. When a person has been implanted with a vision in them, it may seem fucking bizarre and crazy to everybody around them. It should, right? Because the vision wasn't given to them. It was given to you. And you're so excited and you want to get everyone on board. And people are making fun of him. Like, people, and that's, unfortunately a lot of us have been programmed, right? That's the whole purpose of the school, is to fucking reconstruct the African mind, the psyche. But like he says, that it's easier to build young men than to repair broken men, right? It's easy to build up the younger generation, to nurture, to nurse this new generation, the new mind, the young mind, than it is to try to fix what's already been broken, right? Beaten and disgusted and rejected and cast out from society. Granted, even at a very fragile age of 3 years old, like, they've kind of been touched already, tainted. Their minds have already been touched. We already know that from many different research studies, especially with the dog test study on implicit racial bias. They already got them at that age, but it's still easier, and I get the point. And so, like, I'm still with it. And I think people keep emphasizing, okay, money, money, money. But money maybe is not the answer. It's not going to solve this problem. In the context of this world we live in, yes, it takes money, right? And this conversation, is so dynamic. It's so multi-layered, because there's other ways to look at it, right? And to kind of analyze and digest, okay, these obstacles that have gotten in the way of the school manifesting, given, like, his idea, like I said, is so futuristic. It's so to the extent of something that has not ever been done before, right? It's so different, right? It's so unique. This thing has never been done before, ever, right? You have, like he says, like other African-centered schools, but not at this, not like that though, not to that extent. The different types of programs. But I think this is kind of like the paradox, because I've said this before, is that he has this vision to build a African-centered school, right? And ultimately it was like a utopian society within American society. So it wasn't just about a school, but it was about building community. It's about building like a nation, essentially. But within the American nation, which is kind of like a paradox. It's like, okay, you are so opposed, like diametrically opposed to the waves of the current society in which we live in, because we know like it's garbage, right? It's evil. It's everything but the way we imagine life should be for the African man, the African woman, and child. Um, but yet, to be so resilient to say, no, we're not going anywhere. Because you have some people who believe, truly believe, that the solution is just leaving, right? We speak so negatively about geographically where we are now, here in America, right? So tainted. And it's polluted. Like, the answer is just packing up and leaving, right? And going to another land, going back to the motherland, right? But the fact that he's so resilient and saying, no, you're going to stay right here, build it right here. And it's kind of like, it goes along with the same theme of what Tariq Nasheed is promoting, right? Foundational Black Americans is like staying here in America. Operating within this system. The same system that you speak so negatively about, you essentially, this is his plan. Like, yes, you want to reconstruct the minds and you want to instill African pride and heritage and history and culture within the emerging minds of the youth, but at the same time, it's a school, and part of the training is to teach them how to live in America and to navigate the system. To live, like, think about, to live within the system and to be able to successfully navigate it. If that means also going to college within the system, right? You're still paying and feeding into the American system. Anytime you send a black child to a college, doesn't matter if it's an HBCU, the fact that it's a school, it's a school within the system. You're feeding into the American system. If you're paying taxes, you're feeding into the American system, which kind of further perpetuates it, right? We all play a role in that, even though we harp against it, complain about it, but at the same time, we all, like, we're still here, right? So, for a person to be so repulsed at the system and the idea of playing by their rules, you're still playing by their rules, right? If you're training up a child to learn the knowledge and the information that you're teaching them through your lens, as opposed to sending them to a public school and they're learning this information through a white person's, the enemy's lens, so to speak, right? So you think about, okay, what kind of person is that going to create, right? Let's say the FDMG Academy opens, and thousands of children are being reared in this school, and taught and fed and shaped and molded, right? What kind of person is that going to produce, essentially, right? I can only imagine. He's going to produce a whole bunch of Dr. Umar Johnsons, right? We love his mind. But then, like, they're going to be, like, very revolutionary and rebellious, right? I won't say really, not really rebellious, but it is rebellious, though. Like, it's just a person having your own mind. Unfortunately, it's perceived as rebellion, but really it's just, no, you can think freely for yourself, and you're not so heavily influenced by European ideology, trying to assimilate to the European culture. You can navigate it, right? And I'm just thinking out loud here in this video, one can be able to learn how to efficiently navigate this system, because you don't have to necessarily run away, right? Part of reclaiming one's identity and power is staying right the fuck where you are and taking domination over, or dominion over where the fuck your ass at. You ain't gotta run and go move somewhere else, because you can run and go move somewhere else and then they come colonize that and run your ass out and you keep running around. That's not really empowering oneself, right? That's just fucking playing the run game. You're running away from the problem as opposed to just standing there head on and warring against it and battling it. So I get that whole idea, the mission to stand your ground, to stay here, to build upon this soil. Everything happens for a reason. So yes, there was a time where Dr. Umar Johnson and Tariq Nasheed, had their qualms against each other. They were, on the surface, perceivably, fighting against each other. But really, think about it, even that served a purpose, though, because you can never let the left hand know what the right hand is doing, and you can never let the enemy know what the fuck your ass is doing, right? So it's good if they think, and this is just like Art of War. The enemy thinks that you're warring against each other, right? Like, you're supposed to be a united force, but it appears as though, okay, they are able to infiltrate and turn one side against the other side, right, of the same coin, though. But really, those two sides of the same coin within the black community, being FDMG and Hidden History, Tariq Nasheed and Dr. Umar Johnson, perhaps, because this is how I see it. I see things in the spirit realm, right? We are operating sometimes in the flesh, and we sometimes don't even know that there are higher forces at work, right? So we think that on this level, okay, Dr. Umar Johnson and Tariq Nasheed beefing and is not moving the black community forward, but it's a grand scheme of things, right? Sometimes we're not able to see the big picture, to zoom out to see, oh no, that was meant to happen, to create this perception that we don't have it together, that we're warring against each other. But when really, we are one united force. I think there's just like a spirit that binds us together. People may talk that, oh, black people can never get along. But no, there's this like unbreakable bond that we have. And even when we think we are operating out of a program, and it appears as though we're going down separate paths, right? Like we think that there's like so much division, but when really it may appear that way, but somehow that division is just uniting us together. Look at this design on this cup, right? It looks like it's going all different kinds of different directions, but really is one united force working together, which we don't have control over, right? Like, who are we? We're just mere human beings. We're spirit beings, but there's a greater force, and we have to acknowledge there's a greater force at hand. I'm not talking about Jesus. I'm talking about a greater force that's at hand that we don't have that power over. So I say this to say, sit back. Just sit back and watch and see. Because I think this shit is all going to come together. It ain't over till it's over, and I can definitely see that happening. It's going to be a beautiful thing. The vision that Dr. Umar Johnson was given, like, I saw it, and I spoke about it. I made videos on this vision. I shared it with you guys, and I'm just like, wow. Wow. And the fact that he's faced so much opposition, been so much adversary and controversy surrounding the FDMG mission, that's just going to make the grand opening that much more powerful. Because you think about, like, how long it took, right, to get this thing off the ground, and like when it does, it's going to be like, woo, a celebration out of nowhere, and it just seems like that just magnifies the power of it that much more. Because if, let's say, he spoke the vision, right, and then boom, it manifested, it wouldn't be as great. If he never faced any opposition and he just like had the vision open, it's just gonna be like regular African Center School where a person just said they're gonna open it and boom, they open. All right, no big deal, right? But for something to have went through so much, like all these hoops, it magnifies it that much more. And I think that it's a lesson for Tariq Nasheed to see that. And he should have saw it through Dr. Umar Johnson, right? It's better sometimes to learn from other people, to see, okay, what a person is dealing with, right? You can sit back and see, like, he's a black man. He has a mission. He's working, he's passionate about it. But then this is America. And to see, okay, oh, that's how they do, right? Oh, those are the forces. You sit back and see, okay, what kind of forces are at play. Because the enemy are always going to show you their hand. That should inform you, as another black man who has a powerful vision, mission, to say, oh, okay, see what I'm dealing with. And not to think that your ass is immune. Because if somebody did that shit to his ass, motherfucker do the same shit to your ass too. Like, no, like, come on. Right? So you just gotta know, like, I don't even think it's a way to be equipped, right? To say, okay, I'm gonna evade that from happening to me. No, the shit is gonna it's gonna happen to your ass, right? But it doesn't mean that you're defeated. It doesn't mean that's the end all be all. Nah. It just means that you have to recognize that you are a tool, right? You're a mechanism for change. It's something bigger than you at play. Keep emphasizing that. So it's a humbling experience because it shows like, okay, you only can do but so much. With all the power that you have as a leader, you only can do but so much. I look forward to this day, though. The grand opening. And I say that it may not happen in Dr. Umar Johnson's lifetime. It'd be beautiful for him to see this vision that he's been given manifest. But maybe his vision is going to be inherited by someone else, right? You know, for a moment, like at one time, and it's still a thought, because you just never know, right? How life can unfold. There are people who say they really support Dr. Umar Johnson and the vision, right? And there are people, obviously, who have donated money. But like I said, money only goes but so far. Like, if people really want to see this school manifest, like, what's stopping you watching this? What's stopping me? Anybody from making this shit happen, yo? Especially if you have that kind of mind and you believe, like, anything is possible. You can do anything you want if you truly put your mind to it. And seeing the mistakes that he's made, but you've learned from, it's just like, what's stopping anybody from making it happen? Money is never an obstacle. Can't use money as, yeah, it costs money, but if you look at that as an obstacle, it will never get over, right? You just have to say, okay, well, if this is something that you truly want, he's not that old. In fact, he's not old at all. He's what, in his mid-40s? He's still young. He got plenty energy and plenty time to make it happen. But he got to be focused too, yo. And it's clear, like history tells us, like anything that we want to see happen when it comes to revolutionary change, we have to like fight for. We've always had to fight, because of course there's going to be resistance. We've always had to put our flag. Hell nah. Anything that has happened for the black community that the white power structure didn't want, no matter what it was, fucking us going to fucking integration, going to same schools and drinking from the same fountain, what the fuck ever, living in the same, just us having equal access. It wasn't so much about us wanting the shit that they got. No, we don't want y'all shit. We want our own shit. We just want to be able to survive anything that we've been barred access from, yo. We had to fucking go and fight for that shit. I think that's where the issue comes from when it comes up where you got people like black people who aren't necessarily descendants of African enslaved people. They don't really get us and understand all the shit. Everything that we got, we had to fucking fight for. Everything, yo. Our dignity, our identity, our respect. We had to go and grab that shit and fight for it, yo. And that's what it's about. And I think, yeah, we're lacking in that. And I think there's a revolution in a negative way. And we see that has happened. That it's a biological, it's like biological warfare. I'm not only talking about the fucking vaccine, but just, have you noticed, like, black people, we just ain't strong no more like we used to be. We just like very complacent, and weak, you know. We strong, yeah, we still resilient, but it's just like something has fucking altered our DNA, something in our DNA sequence where it's like, where is a fight in us? The warrior in us. You know, even you look at black men, it's just like, bitch ass motherfucking niggas, yo, what the hell? They not the same. People talking about the Black Panther Party, and I think it's a joke. It's non-existent. You know, just like, we fought, there was a time we fought for what we wanted. We snatched that shit. Because it was about our fucking survival and us thriving. And it wasn't so much, even if we had to put our own life on the line, we knew that, okay, you have a life, but it's really about the grand scheme of things. The life of our identity as black people, as African people, which extends beyond our individual lives. It's about our survival as a collective, right? That's what the fight was about. Knowing that, okay, I might die as an individual, but I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight. Even if I have to die, I'm going to fight for the survival of black people as a collective. Some of us still got it. And I know, obviously, we use these platforms that they control to get the word out. And that can be a good thing, that can be a bad thing. But this is just a thought that came across my mind. I'm just like, I'm looking forward to both institutions manifesting. And it doesn't stop there, right? We can't just say and rely on them to make these things happen, right? We each are accountable and responsible for bringing about change, right? Just for bringing progress, right? Just leaving our stamp, right? The school is a stamp to say, hey, we were here. We did this. We marked that stamp in time. We did this. We're here, right? Because he's going to transition at some point. He's move on, but then he can say, listen, I was here, right? And the school doesn't die. You got to make sure the school stays alive. It's legendary. But I can go on and on. Y'all with me? We easily get distracted. Not me, though. Like I said, I just think it's something that people just either born with or your ass ain't. You know, I've always been this way. Can't, like, some minds can be easily distracted and shaped, conditioned, right? And no mind is immune from conditioning. I have to say that. But when you look at the mind, the average black person, so easily fucking misdirected, so disillusioned, and it just makes you wonder. Like, we can procreate. We do that, right? We can procreate physically and make more babies and multiply. But it doesn't mean that we're surviving. We're doing that physically, but we're dying psychologically. All we're doing is producing more white-minded black people, right? It's like you're a white person in black face, black skin, all these black skin babies, but the mind ain't black. That's what we got to hold on to, the black mind, the African psyche. Where is that? We're losing that. Where's that spirit? That fierce spirit. We're bringing it back, y'all. That's why I know, like, yes, I am still single for some people who probably have been wondering. Because I know I don't talk about that on a regular basis when I do my videos here. But yes, I am still single because I'm selective. People ask me, oh, you're beautiful, you're successful, but you're single. Like, what's wrong? Ain't shit wrong with me. It's that the problem is beyond me, right? And it's a matter of the universe matching me and aligning me with that right person, which I already said. Like, I know my type, right? But it has to be a perfect alignment with that right person coming into my path, or vice versa, you know? It's the only way I'm going to stop in my tracks, and time will slow down, and I pay attention to that person to be able to fucking fall in love and exist with this person, right? And build and procreate. We need more of that. But I'm not. Some people just want to fall in love and procreate just for the hell of it, right? In fun of it. And nah. Like, everything for me is very purposeful. And so if it's not with the right person, we got to be like mind, like spirit. Yes. Right? Because I can go and fucking lay up with any of these clowns out here. There's plenty of them. I live in New York City. There's plenty of them out here. That ain't hard to do. But I don't feel like that will be progress. Like, how is that in alignment with what I believe in, right? What I know to be true in my heart. Like, nah, I find like that would be me shortchanging myself, me betraying myself, what I stand for. I have a lot of men wanting to get to know me, and hi beautiful, and I've collected so many freaking hi beautifuls. Like, it's a collection. It's like thousands of hi beautifuls. Hey beautiful, I want to get to know you. It's like, that shit is played out, right? We have to resonate, and it has to be consistent effort, right? Towards truly building it. That's what a person wants to do. People are easily distracted, and that makes me wonder. It's like, if a person has an objective, right? This is what you say you want a son, right? So you can pass on your legacy. You want to build a family. You have this idea, but what are you doing to work towards that as a conscious black man, right? What is getting in the way? What are you afraid of? A lot of people are traumatized, right? They've been let down by other people. I get it. But at some point, if you're so attuned to who you are, yourself in spirit, wouldn't spirit guide you? Or is that all baloney too? Anyway, I'm going to end this video on this note. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about that. I just feel like, you know, we gotta come together, and there's too many black people out here in America, right? That we just can't hold the line and really unite as a force. We have to. And I think people want to take the easy route out sometimes and align themselves with whoever they think is winning, right? And they're not loyal. They just switch sides. So they feel like, oh, I'm going to go on this side with the white people. I'm going to go on this side with the Latinos, or this side with whatever. They ain't really committed. They're not loyal. They're not self-respecting. And yeah, it just makes you wonder. So for me, like, I be in my own zone. Because this is where I feel the most complete. Like, this is where I feel like, yo, it's more authentic, you know. I say, you live in the world, but you're not of the world. You don't have to be. I don't feel the need to just be amongst people just for the sake of just being amongst people, right? If we're not, nah. And a lot of people, you know, yeah. I can go on and on. I'm about to end this video. You guys get me. Oh, I love it when some of my favorite people go live. I love it. I love it. That's one thing I like about social media, because yes, it keeps us connected and like keeps us like around the right people, our tribe. And even though we may not be like geographically in the same location, at least we can still feel connected, right? So I'm about to end this video, but I'm gonna catch you guys later. Today has been a great and beautiful day. I love this Malian mud cloth here. Someone asked me about this at work, and people find it fascinating the way I dress, but I feel like the way I dress is a reflection of who I am and what I stand for, and that's not gonna change. I get some people really pushing up against that. I get that even at my workplace. This is how I dress. Like, I wore this to work. I work at a hospital. And yeah, I don't wear the whole white collar shit, how they want you to dress. That's not my style. This is how I feel comfortable dressing, and this is, yeah, and people ask me a lot of questions about it, but it is good though, because they're curious. Some people are like doubtful, I think, or questioning. But that's a whole nother video. I could make a separate video on that. Drop your comments below. I'll catch you guys in the next one. More power to the mission is going to come to fruition. I believe so. If you believe so, drop that fist below.